Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. There's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination perspective will be discussed in this session. So let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 5th of August. The first news is Rajya Sabha passes the Family Court Amendment Bill 2022, something relevant for both prelims and mains examination. Second, that is India-US meet amid the China-US tension. Third, Navy women pilot chart a new course. Fourth, that is inflation driving 8% of the GST revenue rise. And the last is an editorial breathing life into it, right? So apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. And these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before that, if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. So starting with the first news of the day, that is the Rajya Sabha passes Family Court Amendment Bill 2022. This is something relevant for General Studies paper 2, that is Parliament and State Legislature, structure, function, conduct of businesses, power and privileges and issues arising from it. So recently the Rajya Sabha has passed the Family Court Amendment Bill 2020. And just to tell you, ये सारे सवाल जो हैं वो आपके prelims और mains दोनों के लिए काफ़ी relevant है. So the bill amends the Family Court Act of 1984. This is again a point to be noted. And according to the Family Court Act of 1984, जब बात करें इस act की, it makes mandatory for the state government to set up a family court for every city or every town whose population exceed 1 million. तो जिस city की population 1 million से ऊपर है, उस cities में एक family court बनानी mandatory है. This is the provision which is there under the Family Court Act of 1984. Now the act allowed the state government to establish the family court, right? And the bill was passed by the Lok Sabha itself. The bill already Lok Sabha में pass कर दी गई थी. Now finally it has been passed from the Rajya Sabha also. So what are the proposed amendment under this bill? Now the bill which was passed recently in the Rajya Sabha and even it was passed earlier in the Lok Sabha. तो इस bill में कुछ amendment की बात की गई है, right? So what this bill called for? The bill sought to amend the Family Court Act of 1984, जो मैंने आपको पहले बताया. And in this bill, 2 states is highlighted. First is Himachal Pradesh, और जो दूसरी state है वो है Nagaland, right? So Himachal Pradesh and Nagaland are the 2 states upon which the family court would be established. और ये retrospectively implement करने की बात की है government ने. For Himachal Pradesh, it would be implemented from February 15 to 2019 and Nagaland with effect from September 12 to 2008. The government of Himachal Pradesh and Nagaland have set up the family court in their state under the act. However, the central government did not extend the applications for this act to the states. Now, these states will be applicable to form with the family courts. Now, there's a specific section, that is section 3A. ये आपके exams के लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा relevant है. So, and it is important for other papers also. So the bill also seeks to insert section 3A retrospectively, which will validate all the action taken under the states. जो भी states है हिमाचल प्रदेश और नागालैंड की बात हो रही है. Specifically, we are focusing on these 2 states, right? हिमाचल प्रदेश और नागालैंड में ये commence होंगी under the Family Court Act of 2022, right? So the details, the retrospective decision, all over things that has been taken by these 2 courts will be taken into actions. Now pending cases in lower court की अगर बात करें, basically at present 715 family courts हैं इंडिया में and with 11 lakh cases are pending, right? And the government is emphasizing to have at least 1 family court in 1 district. So this is something right decision at right time. 1 family court होनी चाहिए at least in every district, right? So 1 family court every district is a mandatory provisions. And the central government is empowered to notify the dates of the act that come into force, right? So आपसे एग्जाम में इस तरह के सवाल स्पेसिफिकली मेंस में पूछे जा सकते हैं, राइट? आई एम फोकसिंग मोर ऑन द मेंस. सो दे कैन आस्क यू हाउ द बैकलॉग केसेस व्हिच इज देयर इन इंडिया कैन बी क्या सॉल्यूशंस हो सकते हैं. तो आप इस तरह की जो एग्जांपल्स हैं वो वहाँ पे यूज़ कर पाएंगे. Now, India-US meet amid the China-US tension, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India's and affecting India's interest. So India's एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर एंड यूएस के जो सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट्स हैं उन्होंने मुलाकात की है. दे हैव मेट ओवर द प्रेसिंग ग्लोबल challenges and this is rising tension between the China and Taiwan following the US House Speaker which is a high profile visit which was recently made in Taiwan. तो US के जो representations हैं खास करके जो यूएस के स्पीकर है हाउस ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव की उन्होंने विजिट किया था ताइवान में. उसके बाद काफ़ी ज़्यादा टेंशन एक्सक्लेट हुई है बिकॉज दीज टू कंट्री आर नॉट अलाइंड विद ईच अदर, राइट. सो दे आर थिंकिंग दैट यूएस इज गिविंग देम अ बैक सपोर्ट. So on the sideline of the ASEAN conclave, the US Secretary of State has raised concern over the challenging that's faced by the Sri Lanka, Myanmar and other Indo-Pacific countries. हर कैसे जो Indo-Pacific region में जितने भी countries आते हैं उन पे कंसर्न रेज किया. एंड जस्ट टू टेल यू क्वाड मेंबरशिप, राइट, बहुत से लोगों को आपको पता होगा क्वाड क्या है. तो क्वाड मेंबरशिप इज अगेन समथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट वेयर यूएस इज प्लेइंग अ सिग्निफिकेंट पार्ट. तो ये ज़रूरी है कि जो इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन में इंडिया हैज़ ऑल्सो बीन वोकल अबाउट दिस पार्ट दैट इंडो पैसिफिक इज द रीजन वेयर द कंसर्न हैज़ ऑलवेज बीन वोकल अबाउट. Now, military exercises by China. China has launched a measure live fire military exercises in water around the Taiwan. In response to that, the recent visit with the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. तो एक प्रोटेस्ट के तौर पे या फिर एक अपने एक्शंस के तौर पे चाइना ने इस तरह के एक्शंस लिए हैं, मिलिट्री एक्सरसाइजेस की हैं. Now, ASEAN centrality in the Indo-Pacific. This is what the US Home Department and the US states are looking forward with. According to the US State Department, the US and India has strong proponents for Asian centrality in the Indo-Pacific. तो जो आसियान की सेंट्रलिटी है उसके लेकर के बात की गई है कि जो आसियान के मेंबर्स हैं वो अपनी सेंट्रलिटी को मेंटेन करके रखें इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन. And both countries shared their visions together for a free and open Indo-Pacific. So India has been always vocal about the free and fair transportation that is taking place in the Indo-Pacific region. And हर एक कंट्रीज को खास करके मेंबर कंट्रीज को मौका मिलना चाहिए इंडो पैसिफिक विच इज लार्जली कंसिडर्ड टू बी डोमिनेटेड बाय चाइना. चाइना के जो प्रेजेंस है इस रीजन में काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. चाइनाज डोमिनेंस इज हाई, सो एवरीवन वांट कि इस डोमिनेंस को कम किया जाए, राइट. एंड इंडिया एंड यूएस हैज आल्सो एक्सचेंज the views on the global and regional issues which include some of the basically जो यूक्रेन और रशिया की जो वॉर चल रही है उसके बारे में भी बात हुई. इवन द implications with regards to the food insecurity which is rising. रिसेंट में यूक्रेन की तरफ से ये परमिशन दी गई है कि दे विल बी अलाउइंग टू टेक द अदर फूड ग्रेन कैरियर्स. तो उसके बाद चीज़ें नॉर्मल होगी बट अगेन इट विल टेक टाइम. Now, India so far has extended almost close to 4 billion worth economic humanitarian crisis to Sri Lanka, which have seen the worst economic crisis since their independence. तो इंडिया ने काफ़ी एड दी है श्रीलंका को इस टाइम पे and it battles for the worst economic crisis since 1948. Now, focus on the ministerial meeting. अगर बात करिए जो पूरी मीटिंग हुई है उसकी क्या फोकस रही है. So the ASEAN ministerial meeting that focuses on overall development of the Indo-Pacific region also further expand the agreement on the backdrop of geopolitical development, including the crisis that is there in the Ukraine. Now, the minister has also identified the dominance of health, agriculture. कुछ important areas की अगर बात करें, health was there, agriculture, education's green growth initiative were the focus area of this meeting, where both leaders have met, right? उसके अलावा digital health, agriculture, education's green growth, ये जो partnership की बातें what I have told you in the beginning, ये सारी बातों को reiterate किया गया, दोहराया गया. Now, the minister also discussed the situation of the South China Sea, which has witnessed aggressively behavior by China. तो चाइना ने हमेशा से ही साउथ चाइना सी में डोमिनेंस बनाने की कोशिश की है एंड यूएस हैज सेड दैट दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज नॉट पैरिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऑल द नेबरिंग कंट्रीज. इसी वजह से ताइवान की सपोर्ट एक तरह से चाइनीज के लिए दे आर ऑन द क्वेश्चन दैट दिस इज समथिंग दे आर गेटिंग अ बैक हिट फ्रॉम यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका. सो इस कंटेक्स्ट में भी आप देख सकते हैं इट्स जियोपॉलिटिकल इश्यूज बिटवीन मोर और लेस दिस इज मोर कंसर्न विद चाइना एंड ताइवान. Now, Navy women pilots start a new courses, something important for General Studies Paper 1, that is role of women, women organizations, populations, associated issues, poverty and development issues. So 5 officers from Indian Navy have created a history after they have completed all women independent maritime reconnaissance and surveillance missions in the Arabian Sea with onboard Dornier 228 aircraft, right? और ये जो first of its kind maritime mission है that has showcased the Nari Shakti, which the government programs and policies also call for the women empowerment. Now, the women officers received the month of guard training and comprehensive missions in bringing the run up to the holistic surtax. As a part of the Indian Navy Air Squadron, which is INS 314, based on the Naval Air Enclave that was there in the Porbandar, Gujarat. So, ये कभी venues भी काफी examination में important हो सकते हैं. So these are the all 5 women. Even you can take you have seen this in the newspaper also. Now, women empowerment initiatives की अगर बात करें, stating that the Navy has been in the front runner in the driving transformations of the armed forces, and stated that the women empowerment status include inducting of the women pilot, selections of the air operations officers into the helicopters team, or conducting all India sailing circumnavigation expedition across the globe. तो ये कुछ important चीजें हैं जो नेवी ने कोशिश की है कि इंडक्ट किया जा सके, राइट? एंड इट्स द फर्स्ट ऑफ इट्स काइंड मिलिट्री फ्लाइंग मिशंस. हाउएवर, यूनिक एक्सपेक्टेड टू पे वे फॉर द वुमेन ऑफिसर्स, जहां पे एविएशन cadres resume the greater responsibility and aspire to become and consider to be they are more ready with the more challenging jobs, right? So this is evident. This is a part of the women empowerment. If you're writing any essay, specifically I'm highlighting on the essay part. अगर आप किसी तरह के essay में चीज़ों को लिख रहे हैं तो ये points आप जरूर include करें. Now, inflation driving 8% of the GST rise. Again, something, this is a reality. Government has been claiming that the GST is on the high, but there's some other reason because of inflations and other factor, the rise can be witnessed, right? So something relevant for General Studies paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So according to the latest SBI research, SBI की अपनी research report आई है, where it has highlighted that the high inflation driving 8% of the current GST collection. जिस तरह से inflation बढ़ी है उस वजह से 8% तक की जो GST collections है वो possible हो पाई है, and this is only because of the high inflation that India is witnessing, which is total collection कितनी है 8% GST. Now the inflation adjusted GST collections so far are 26%, right, which is higher than the pre-COVID levels. Now SBI की जो research है, they have also raised its current account deficit target for the year 3.7 of the GDP, projecting that the trade deficit to widen 8.5% of the GDP for 2022 and 23. Now, precisely looking into the collection part, although this data might not be relevant for your examination, but कुछ trends आपको पता होने चाहिए किस तरह से चीजें हो रही है. GST collections has clocked up to 1.4 crores. This is the value with the 5 successive months, right? This is the 5 successive months. And July has recorded the second highest revenue since the indirect tax regime was introduced. तो जब से GST आई है उस समय से ये सबसे अभी तक की highest collections मानी गई है, which is 28% higher than the earlier year, right? And various reasons include better compliances, economic recovery, higher inflations, considering some of the factor leading to the higher GST revenue. So even this type of question might be relevant for the MCQs. आपसे पूछा जा सकता है कि कौन कौन से ऐसे फैक्टर्स हैं जो बेटर जीएसटी कलेक्शन को प्रोवोक करेंगे, राइट? सो बेटर कंप्लायंसेस, इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी एंड हायर इन्फ्लेशन. सो मेक श्योर आप इस तरह के पॉइंट्स भी ध्यान में रखिए. कई बार बेसिकली कॉन्सेप्चुअल बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस भी आपसे एग्जाम्स में पूछे जाते हैं. नाउ लोअर देन पीक विद द रिकॉर्ड goods trade services deficit, which is like 31 billion in July, compared to the previous, that is $26 billion, 26.2 precisely, in June, taking the deficit to 100 billion for a year already. The bank reached estimate that the full deficit is around 8.5% of the GDP, right? Now, moving to the editorial of the day, that is breathing life into it, something relevant for General Studies paper 2, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So what I'm going to discuss under this editorial, so there are 5 important subheads that I'll be discussing. First is the COP26, impact of the climate change on economy, measures and interventions, behavior change in environment, and the LIFE initiative, which was launched by the Prime Minister during the COP26 meeting, right? तो बहुत सारी इंपॉर्टेंट बातें हैं जो मैं आपके साथ डिस्कस करूंगा एंड द एंटायर एडिटोरियल थीम्स अपॉन टूवर्ड्स अ सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट, राइट, थ्रू द इनिशिएटिव ऑफ लाइफ मूवमेंट और लाइफ इनिशिएटिव्स. So, in the midst of the global crisis and basically looking into the India getting closer to host the G20 presidency, it is an important time to recognize the leadership both at the both end. India को दोनों end पे अपनी basically जो commitment है वो दिखाने की जरूरत है. First, by walking a talk on the India's climate commitment, and second, leading people-powered climate actions. So, climate चेंज और ये जो क्लाइमेट रिलेटेड सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट की जो पॉलिसीज है वो हर एक मल्टीलैटरल मीटिंग्स में, बायलैटरल मीटिंग्स में, किसी भी फोरम पे सबसे हाई प्रायोरिटी पे होती है. तो जब इंडिया G20 की प्रेसिडेंसीशिप को लेगा एंड इवन एट द टाइम इंडिया शुड बी वोकल दैट यस इंडिया इज कमिटेड टू द सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट एंड इवन टू ओवरकम ऑल द क्लाइमेट कमिटमेंट. जितनी भी कमिटमेंट्स हैं वो इंडिया ने पूरी की है, कंसिडरिंग द फैक्ट जो पेरिस क्लाइमेट चेंज की जो एग्रीमेंट्स हैं वो भी पूरे होंगे and even the one that is set up in the COP26 will also be fulfilled. Now COP26 की अगर बात करें, the meeting was held in November 21st, right? And Glasgow, the Prime Minister has announced Panchamrit, the 5 climate related commitments. कल मैंने आपके साथ डिस्कस किया था पूरी डिटेल में क्या क्या पंचामृत है. If you have not watched that video, do check out. कल की आप डेली न्यूज एनालिसिस वीडियोस देखें, वहाँ पे डिटेल में आपको पंचामृत के बारे में मिल जाएगी. Now, he also articulated that the concept of life for the environment, lifestyle for the environment, which is also known as life, advocated for a mindful, deliberate utilizations by the people worldwide and mindful and wasteful consumptions के बारे में differences करने की ज़रूरत है. एक इंडिविजुअल की लाइफस्टाइल चेंजेस से कैसे एनवायरनमेंट को बचा सकते हैं उसके बारे में भी डिटेल में बातें की गई है. We'll see that also. Now, there's a unequivocal evidence on the Earth's temperature that is rising exponentially and multiple threats that is going around the world across the globe with regards to the climate change. Now, impact of climate change on economy की अगर बात करें, it has been estimated that the global economy could basically जो पूरी losses है अगर बात करें, this is not precisely for India, this is for the entire globe, 18% तक GDP को लॉस देखने को मिल सकती है across the globe, right? And India को lose up to, specifically India की अगर बात करें, 6 trillion by 2050, right? India has not even yet become 5 trillion economy जो हम टारगेट कर रहे हैं, उस तरफ भी अभी तक इंडिया नहीं पहुंची. बट अगेन अगर पार्ट लूज करने की बात करें तो 6 ट्रिलियन तक लॉस हो सकती है. यू कैन सी द ग्रेव सिचुएशन which is there in because of the climate change, right? Now moving ahead, India alone has become India alone has more than 50% of a large rural workforce that is negatively affected by the climate change. तो क्लाइमेट चेंज सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि इन्वायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट हो रहे, रिपरकर्शन इज देयर एट द बॉटम. हर एक प्रोफेशंस में, हर एक सेक्टर्स में इसके इम्पैक्ट देखी जाती है. नाउ फूड एंड वाटर सिक्योरिटी हैज ऑलरेडी बीन थ्रेटन्ड बिकॉज across the world because of the climate crisis, and clearly it says that climate change can no longer be an afterthought of the global development agenda. So this is that time that we need to keep it in the global agenda. और जिस तरह से इंडिया इस बार G20 की प्रेसिडेंसीशिप लेगा, उस टाइम भी ये काफ़ी ज़रूरी है कि इंडिया इस तरह के पॉइंट्स को, इस तरह के इश्यूज़ को प्रॉपरली हाईलाइट करे और प्रोएक्टिवली उस पर काम करे. Now measures and intervention that was already there globally और कुछ इंडिया की तरफ से भी. One of the 2 decades, अगर पिछले 2 दशकों में बात करें, many countries have attempted policies actions. Now, according to the United Nations Environment Program, if 1 billion people out of the global population close to 8 billion adopt an eco-friendly behavior in their daily life, जो carbon emissions हैं, that could drop up to 20%. This is an astonishing fact. अगर आप एग्जाम में लिख रहे हैं, इसको ज़रूर हाईलाइट करें. This is very very important point, right? कि अगर एक इंडिविजुअल की तरफ से काम की जाए और ऐसी एनवायरनमेंट फ्रेंडली अप्रोच रखी जाए तो कई ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जिससे हम रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं. कौन कौन से ऐसे इको फ्रेंडली बिहेवियर्स हो सकते हैं इंडिविजुअल के तौर पे? सो फर्स्ट इज लाइक इको फ्रेंडली बिहेवियर इंक्लूड टर्निंग ऑफ एसीज, हीटर्स, लाइट व्हेन नॉट इन यूज. दिस माइन्यूट थिंग हैज़ वेरी मच इम्पैक्ट ऑन द क्लाइमेट चेंज, राइट? एंड इट कैन डेफिनेटली, जो 20% की बात की गई है कार्बन एमिशंस कम करने में, वो बहुत हद तक इससे मदद मिलेगी. The minimal effort can conserve up to 282 kilometers of electricity per day. अगर इस तरह की efforts लगाई गई तो almost 282 kilowatts electricity भी save की जा सकती है. And even avoiding the food wastage of the individual can also reduce the carbon footprint by 370 kg per year, right? And reducing the trip per 1 year per flight, if it is there, तो जो per carbon emissions है, that can be reduced by 700 to 2800 kgs, right? So this is again some of the fact. If you're writing in mains, आप इस तरह के basic example भी utilize कर पाएंगे. Now, behavior change and environment. The individual behavior has an enormous potential and significantly can come up with a climate downpour. And even there's an urgent need for individual to translate geographical scenario, economic boundaries, and come together with a global community to tackle the climate crisis. Now, India can lead the global climate debate by nudging the world towards most sustainable and inclusive development through its initiative called Life for the Environment movement. Now, lifestyle, अगर बात करें lifestyle movement की, lifestyle initiative की, the complete full form abbreviation is lifestyle for the environment movement, right? So how it can help to overcome the challenges? It was actually launched on 5th of June 2022 on the World Environment Day by the Prime Minister of India. And the vision of this is to harness the power of an individual and collective action across the world to address the climate change. How it can be done? It can be done by making a minute lifestyle changes, right? And the objective of this movement is to nudge the individual and communities to adopt a simple, so basically a specific climate friendly behavior that is in our daily life. कुछ ऐसे बेसिक नॉर्मल चेंजेस करने की जरूरत है हमारी डेली लाइफ में जो इन्वायरमेंट फ्रेंडली हो. Now the life aims to activate or even active the global community with a proactive planet people to stir up the worldwide and sustainable model of development. Now, in some or the other ways, Prime Ministers ने जो लाइफ की मूवमेंट लॉन्च की उसके बहुत सारे इम्पैक्ट हैं, वो कंपीलिंग इम्पैक्ट है वर्ल्ड वाइड. सो विल सी फॉर सम ऑफ देम दैट हैज एन इम्पैक्ट. फर्स्ट इज द कंज्यूम रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. तो लाइफ की अगर बात करें, लाइफ प्लान मेथडोडिकली ब्रेक डाउन द मेंटल मॉडल by nudging the world to consume responsibly and rather than consuming less. तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के साथ कंज्यूम करना, चाहे आप एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स है, बीट फूड, राइट, वी वेस्टिंग फूड, वी आर वेस्टिंग वाटर, तो इस सारी चीज़ों की जुडिशली यूज़ करना, इवन फॉर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एवरीथिंग हैज़ टू बी यूज जुडिशली, राइट, एंड दिस विल कॉल फॉर अ सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट. तो हमें अपने जो बिहेवियर है उसमें चेंज करने की जरूरत है, ना कि कंजम्पशंस को कम करने की जरूरत है. Now, building a unique insight from India's recent Jan Andolan, that is the Swachh Bharat Mission, Life will deploy the testing behavioral technique, which include the nudging social behaviors, social or behavioral changes committee में, and even calling for a mindful consumption of the mass movement. The दूसरी है producer responsibility. In our society, it reflects our market. Our society reflects our market and vice versa. So this is an evidential truth. And if sustainable choices are not supported from supply side, there is no consumption pattern, will only be a temporary. तो इस तरह के अगर हमने एक्चुअल में चेंजेस नहीं किए, सप्लाई साइड पे चेंजेस नहीं किए, डिमांड साइड में नहीं किए, तो फिर इस तरह के इफेक्ट्स का बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब रह नहीं जाएगा. Now, butting the consumption pattern, the society at the scale and their life can also trigger the boost for the sustainable market. Third है life responsibility. This is like the COVID की अगर बात करें, this has given a wake up call to the entire world that सिर्फ टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोग्रेस से सारी चीज़ें नहीं होंगी. We need to be also dependent on the natural world and the mercy of the natural world, right? So as a global community, we need to share the world that is threat to one and threat to all. And the life movement can play a pivotal role not merely on diversifying the climate effort, but also at the global level, it will have a mainstream of harmonious and mindful way of living. So we should not directly impact the environment, और environmental impact के repercussions वापस इंडिविजुअल को हमें देखनी पड़ती है. ग्लोबली उसके काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट होते हैं. So it is the time that we need to mainstream it and work in a mindful way in a living positions where lifestyle is not impacting our environment. So mindful living करने की ज़रूरत है. जो लाइफ मूवमेंट है उसको एविडेंट बनाने की ज़रूरत है. Especially for all Indians, we need to take a cognizance of it and we need to work with a responsibility, right? Now, moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice. आपको बताना है मालाबार एक्सरसाइज के बारे में, किस तरह की एक्सरसाइजेज हैं ये, और 3 कंट्रीज हैं इसमें, इंडिया, जापान और यूएस. So you have to check which among the following is the correct, and it is held alternatively between India and Pacific Ocean. Do check it out for the correct option. Second is the Gender Inequality Index is released by World Economic Forum, UNDP, Save the Children or Transparency International. So इंडेक्स रिलेटेड टॉपिक्स और रिपोर्ट्स रिलेटेड जो क्वेश्चंस हैं प्रीलिम्स में खास करके काफ़ी ज़्यादा एविडेंशियल। आप चेक कर ले कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर है। दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट फॉर द डेली न्यूज़ एंड एडिटोरियल एनालिसिस followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.